All right. Good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, March 29th, and Oral Roberts is no longer in the NCAA tournament. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. I had my usual bunch of classes today, so I'm excited to talk about sports, not in a political or any other way
Yeah.
like that. So
Yeah, for whatever reason, I totally forgot. I woke up this morning, I was like, shit, I have to wait till next weekend for more games. And I forgot they're doing the Elite Eights or today and tomorrow. So that's
yeah,
exciting. Obviously, we'll talk a lot about the NCAA and March Madness, but we're going to tone it down a little bit on this episode before we'll still give our predictions to go over a little bit, but it's more next show will be our Final Four national championship preview. So, and there was some big stuff happening in the NFL over the weekend. So, Tom's all over the free agency and the trades and everything. So
I gotta have my niche.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's great. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Obviously, we'll go over the NFL, but we'll get into today in sports history. I have the video for this. This is really cool. And I don't know how much you know about the FA Cup, so I'll explain it to you. So today in sports history, in 1873 was the first FA Cup final in Lille Bridge in London. Wanderers beat Oxford University. So it wasn't the first one ever because it says it's their second consecutive title, so I was wrong. And then in 1879, the FA Cup final was also in London, Carrington Oval. Old Etonians beat Clapham Rovers 1-0. Carlos Clerk scores the winner. So, like I said, I don't know how much you know about the FA Cup, but it's this super dope. It's the only tournament in England. Literally, you can have an intramural team, and it's free to sign up. And you can have an intramural team and everything. So, there have been a couple stories over the years of some of the non-league team is that it means they're lower than the fifth division of soccer in England, which means it's basically like an intramural team. And the coolest part about it is obviously the big teams usually win, but there have been a couple runs over the years. And but the smaller teams, they get to host all the games. So it's pretty awesome. And it's the only sport that really does a tournament in all of the country where, I mean, the MLS kind of does it too, but it's a little different. This is a video of one of the coolest finishes ever in FA Cup history. It was so dope. So here, I'll play that.
Who won it, scores it. Leicester City go to Wembley, and it's the end for Watford. Knockout takes, Almunia saves, knockout follows in, Almunia saves again. Absolutely astonishing. Now here come Watford. Forestieri. Here's Hogg! Deeney! Do not scratch your eyes! You are really seeing the most extraordinary finish here. It almost mirrors the final day. With the very last kick of this playoff semi-final, Troy Deeney wins it for Watford and sends them to Wembley. Well, we talked about Troy Deeney being an influence in this game, and that is exactly what he has been. But to me, not justice has been done in terms of the penalty. I didn't feel it was a penalty, so Knockout not score.
All right. I don't know what happened to you. I have the wrong thing up here. I don't know how to get you back.
All right.
Okay. I don't know how to do this. Oh yeah, so that was really cool. That was in 2013. Basically, Watford, who's actually a top level team now, the guy had 2 penalty saves and they scored down in the 96th minute. It's one of the craziest endings I've ever seen. It was crazy. That's what's really cool about the FA Cup. It's already in I think they're in the semifinals now this year. It's all the big teams, but every once in a while a team makes a run and it's really cool to follow. So with that, we'll get into I will say Tottenham are the only non-league side to win, and they did it in 1901. Tottenham's obviously a really, really big club now, so it's a little bit different.
Right.
So we'll get into the news. I had an NFL subject, but we'll probably just skip over that for now, and we'll go actual in-depth into the NFL in a minute. So to the NBA, obviously me and Tom, and obviously no one knows this because it's on our group chat on Facebook, but the NBA has just become. It's just something that I can't root for or do anything about anymore. The other day, James Harden came out and said he's the MVP. It's exactly that's why the NBA is so stupid. Like, James Harden, how about you focus on a championship instead of being the MVP? It's just the NBA is the biggest joke. All the trades at the trade deadline, that picture that you sent over in the group chat about the two teams, what their starting fives are going to be. I mean, it's a joke. The Cavs bought out Andre the Giant. No. They bought out Andre Drummond, who's still like not like 30, right? He's like 27, and he just signed with the Lakers for like a minimum set. It's such a joke.
Well,
I don't even get it anymore. It's so stupid. There is absolutely no point to watch the NBA.
yeah, I mean, and I think the other picture that I had sent in the group chat just is even more ridiculous than looking at the two teams and their starting five. The Brooklyn Nets, after the trade deadline, are looking at starting James Harden, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, and LaMarcus Aldridge, with their backup five being Bruce Brown, who I guess is a young and solid player, Jeff Green, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, and Nicholas Claxton. That is like so one-sided for this. And this is why I stopped watching the NBA years ago. I hated it after, like, I understood with the Celtics, right? They were like the first big three or whatever. But that wasn't really intentional.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. And that started the whole thing. And I also take a little bit of blame for that. And we'll talk more about it later in our Mount Rushmore is the worst moments as a fan. But, I mean, so I understand, like, they didn't really form the big three on purpose, but it happened. Yeah. And then, so the next thing, it made sense that LeBron joined. The Heat coming after the Celtics, it wasn't a surprise. That was the way the NBA was headed, but that was still a team kind of thing. You didn't have the individuals that you have today. And I know I said it on the and I will say, like, we talked about Adam Teach. He's awesome. He is perfect. Following someone like the Grizzlies, had I done that from the beginning of the year, I could see myself doing that because they got Jaren Jackson, they got John Morant. They're a young team, and they didn't go out and trade everybody. But I mean, just the Nets and the Lakers and the Clip. I don't get it anymore. I just don't. I don't understand it. So I don't know if you have anything else more to say, but like, I mean, why do they play regular season games anymore? Is there a point?
I mean, yes and no, because like you have a team like the Knicks kind of come out of nowhere, going from like second worst record in the NBA to being fifth or sixth, which is great. Like, and it's
awesome. Yeah, it's cool.
Once the Nets left New Jersey, I became a Knicks fan because I love rooting for all the garbage teams. But once they left,
we'll talk about more garbage teams here once we get to the NFL. So.
Yes, sir. But I became a Knicks fan, and they were so bad for so long.
I know,
and I can't support anything with James Dolan anymore. So I refuse to watch any games until he sells the team. But like this year, I should be watching right now because they're finally good again.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I just can't get into it because I know they're going to get kicked out of the first round.
And there are stories out there like the Suns in the bubble last year. I didn't really watch it, but I was following on it because that's a team that was built from the ground up. Like I said, with Adam doing the Grizzlies, that's a team. Had I started out, like I could cheer for it. But then you get to the playoffs, you have these super teams. And you just know it's not going to happen. I mean, it's not possible. I can't think of any other team in the East that could beat the Nets in a 7-game series. I can't think of. I mean,
I can't even tell you who the number 2 seed is, and I'm sure that they would get their ass kicked by the Nets in 7 games.
I mean, 99%. It's going to be the Nets versus either the Lakers or the Clippers or one of those. I mean. Another team that's cool that no one's really talking about. I can't remember. It's the Nuggets or the Jazz. It's one of the two. They're in like first place in the West, and they built it like that from the ground up too. But it doesn't matter because the Lakers are going to win in the playoffs. It sucks.
And I didn't even notice the Nets are the number 2 seed in the East. The 76ers. There's another team. I could root for the Sixers because they literally sucked for so long just to manipulate all of the draft picks to get these guys, and now they're actually good.
Yeah, I almost feel bad for the 76ers because they did it. They were ahead of their time in the tanking. They were the first team to tank, so like it changed the NBA and everything. But yeah, I mean that's a cool time, the cool thing now. But then again, Ben Simmons is now like 28, and
Joel Embiid is like a little bit older too, I think.
Yeah, and so I don't understand the attraction, especially when like next week, including next week, and these last 3 weeks, when you have March Madness on. If you were to tell me that like a game, even one of the blowout games, say USC Oregon last night, if you're to tell me you would watch a simple regular NBA game over that, we aren't going to be friends, and like I just don't respect you because that's crazy.
And I think part of it too is like having it be a 7-game series for the NBA makes it so much less fun to watch.
Yes. Like, exactly, because
if a team has a bad night or a bad game in the NBA, you could go win the next 4 straight and move on. With March Madness being a single game elimination, look at Oral Roberts. They are America's darling for 3 weeks.
Yeah, and it's I mean, the NCAA tournament it's the best, and that's why it's the best. I mean, you really do get the true champion, but like it's just so. I gotta close my door. Hold on.
Go for it. It's just so much more fun to watch. There's really no other like term for it.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, if you like the NBA, it doesn't mean I don't like you. It's just I'm never going to agree with you. Like it just I just don't get it. Like and like the fact that I just read like the fact that Drummond just like we're moving on. I just can't understand how I feel about it really because it's just so stupid. And I said this on the chat too, and I think it's true. In the next 5 years, you're going to see guys that like played in college together that come out of the draft that are like, you take both of us. Or in free agency, it's going to be like
they already signed in package. They already do that though. That was going to be my point.
I know. Yeah, they do, but I think they'll just start doing it openly. I think they'll just be like.
Yeah. Look at Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. They were talking last year at the NBA All-Star game saying, oh, they got 2 or 3 picks or whatever and blah, blah, blah. Like there was a quote that they had pulled where they thought they were talking about the Knicks and how like they had so many like openings or whatever. And then they ended up talking about the Nets. But they literally waited until they could trade for Kevin Durant to sign Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie Irving didn't sign anywhere else to make sure that the Nets could trade for Kevin Durant. They're already doing that though, and it's just so messed up. It's the problem with the NBA, and I'm ready to move on.
Yeah, and I like I say to Randy, like I say to Bill, the fact that it is our most popular sport on the site. I mean, kudos to those people out there who love the NBA. That is shocking to me. That's shocking. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know if you've seen like the viewership numbers or whatever. But I remember last year when the Lakers were in the final, the Lakers, who is the most popular team in basketball in the country, the Lakers were in the
no, not the country, the world. They're the Yankees. Like
that's true.
People in China love the Lakers.
Right. So the Lakers, who is literally the world's basketball team, in the finals, Game 5, when they were going to clinch, had less viewership numbers than a regular season Minnesota Vikings game.
That's awesome. Honestly, that gives me hope then. I didn't know that. I thought honestly, I've been under the impression that the NBA is going to keep growing and keep growing. But hey, all you young kids out there that listen to this, you don't want to be like Steph Curry. You don't want to be like them. Like that's why, and I've always said I like college sports better. That the NFL is kind of taking over, but I like those both the same amount. I think.
Yeah.
The kids who play in the NCAA tournament, like, they are kids. Maybe some of them, and B, they have like they get into it because you have passion. You're not just doing it for money. So,
you're not playing for the big flashy play a lot of the time. You're playing for what's the right play. I don't know if you watched Baylor in the second half of their game and their comeback. They kept pulling threes and stuff. They weren't working. They were moving the ball around. They had an open-ish layup where someone was going to step up and contest it. They took it down and they slapped it around for a guy that took it in for a dunk. I mean, it's the right way to play basketball, in my opinion.
I mean, I can't remember it was one of the first round games. Maybe it was Oral Roberts. I mean, nobody drive at the end of the game. The best thing to do in basketball, if you have the last shot, drive to the hoop. There are two good things that can happen. You get fouled and the shot goes in. Whereas you shoot a three, there's one good thing that can happen. It can go in, basically. So, yeah. But, hey, I mean, it's great the March Madness we got it for another week because after that, especially with the FCS still going on, I doubt that I will watch any basketball at all. So,
yeah.
So we'll move on.
That's rate number one.
The only other trade that the big news was it was a trade that didn't happen. Lowry didn't move from the Raptors, I guess. So that was the big news. I don't know.
I didn't even know he was going to get traded.
I mean, they traded I think the Rockets traded Oladipo. The fact that the Rockets went from like a finals contender last year to literally the worst team in basketball. I mean,
love that.
I mean, I guess that's the way to do it. Like, get your 2-3 years out of your big three, and then after that, just absolutely tank. Maybe that's the outline for how it works. So a couple college football news. I had a big weekend. Nicholls State had a big game versus Incarnate Word, and they finally won. They did win. I don't know if you remember, about 2 weeks ago, I had Nicholls State as my number one team, and they got beat 72-3 to Sam Houston State. So Nicholls, I got some redemption on Nicholls. It's also basically looking like in the FCS, shocking, North Dakota State and James Madison are probably the two best teams. But that's just FCS. So once the playoffs come around, I'll probably remind you remind me. We'll talk about it and how everything works about that. Okay, so this is funny. This is the most Iowa thing in the world. The Iowa couple that owns the biggest truck stop in the nation, it's on Interstate 80 in Iowa. They donated $10 million to the Iowa athletic programs. I mean, is there a more Iowan, just the biggest truck stop, just throwing them $10 million?
No, I think that is about as Iowa as it gets.
Before I clicked on it, I was like, all right, this is Nebraska or Iowa. And it was Iowa, so it makes complete sense. Good for them. That's awesome. Such an Iowa thing to do. Also, it seems to be getting worse and worse for LSU. Things just keep coming out. I don't know. We're eventually going to have a talk about it. It's kind of my thing at the bottom here. People, you need to face the reality out there. If you cheer for a Power 5 conference team, they cheat. I don't think they all harass women. I hope they don't, so that's good. But they cheat. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but Rush Probst, you don't even remember 2 days. You weren't old enough for 2 days. Do you remember 2 days, the show on MTV?
No.
It was a show on MTV about Hoover High School football. It was funny. Rush Probst, got famous. He basically got secretly recorded saying that Nick Saban and Kirby Smart use Paul Bear Bryant, his brother owns like a car dealership in the South somewhere, and they get all the money. He says they're paying $500,000 for players. It's for the longest time, I kept thinking something was going to come to light about it. And now that I'm really think about it, the NCAA has no reason to, they have more reason to just keep letting it happen on the side, because that way they don't have to pay every single athlete. So well, and it makes them money the way that it's doing it. If they pay out to athlete, that takes the athletes for the college players, that takes money out of their pockets as the NCAA. If they let it keep happening, the teams are spending money, but the NCAA gets 100% of their profits. Exactly. So it's unfortunate, but it's that time and age or day and age where your team is probably cheating. And honestly, I like Ohio State, I guess, would be my favorite football school. I don't know. I like all college football. Keep cheating Ohio State because it's working. That's what I never understood about, and this is going to be a great parallel for me. That's what I never understood about the Patriots fans who got all mad about Deflategate. I would have just been we won a Super Bowl, but we cheated. Who cares? That Super Bowl isn't going anywhere. So
Yeah, it's not like with the Astros where they're going to put an asterisk next to it or
I mean, the Astros shouldn't have counted. Don't.
I mean, I'm just saying. I'm saying
We
the
don't-
Patriots.
We don't have time for another tirade from me, okay? I do not need to hear about the Astros.
Okay.
I hate the Astros. I mean, I actually do think, and I think we're on the MLB anyways. I think that's next. I don't know, but I think the Astros, any player that was involved in that, I don't think they should be allowed to go to the Hall of Fame. I don't think Altuve should go to the Hall of Fame. I don't think Bregman should go to the Hall of Fame.
I don't think any of them are on pace to be a Hall of Fame player, though, except
Are you
Verlander,
serious?
I guess.
Verlander, Garrett Cole when he was there, Jose Altuve is 100% going to make the Hall of Fame, and so is Bregman. And I would say Carlos Correa and possibly that center fielder that someone else signed.
The Blue
Springer,
Jays
George
signed-
George Springer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say those guys are heading to it, but I mean,
you'd have to look at their stats and their trajectories and what they're supposed to, but I didn't think that anyone was like overly good, I guess, except for like Verlander and Cole.
It's basically Bregman and Altuve. And Altuve is not as good anymore, but Altuve used to be, and I used to hate him so much because I was like, Justin, why didn't you just stick with baseball? He's an inch shorter than you. You could have been in the MLB. So I don't know. Just crushing my dreams every other day. Oh yeah. Also, other MLB news. Now, this is a boss move by LeBron James. He is a voting minority owner of the Boston Red Sox. People from Boston hate. That's like Tom Brady coming to New York and buying the Knicks or like the Jets or the Giants or something. He literally came into Boston. He's like, you guys hate me? I now own your team.
I loved when the news first came out like a week and a half ago, or however long it was. And you just see on any post that reference it, you go to the comment section and literally all of them are just, now LeBron owns 2 Boston teams. Now LeBron owns 2 Boston teams all the way down. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah. All right. So now it's time for Tom to step up. We're getting into the NFL. I'll let you take this one over and I'll just comment whenever I comment.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with like the more minor news and then we can move on to the more discussion kind of points. Cool. So earlier, Urban Meyer addressed the media saying drafting Trevor Lawrence with the number 1 pick, quote, is the direction that we're headed. And literally every comment everywhere says, add that to the no shit folder. Like,
yeah.
What?
I just read that article literally right before we recorded.
I thought it was the funniest thing. I literally read it. I'm like, is this news?
Well, I honestly, I give Urban Meyer a little bit of credit there. Like, there's no point in hiding it. What's the point in hiding it? So, like, we're not dumb. We're going to take Trevor Lawrence.
I mean, people said that about the Browns a couple of years ago with Sam Darnold, and then on draft day, they're like, we never said we were taking Sam Darnold, and then they took Baker Mayfield. So, like, I guess there's an element to it that, like,
see the only. I don't think the Browns are ever. I'll say
that's what I'm saying.
I don't think they were ever going to take. I think Josh Allen was higher on their board, and so was Josh Rosen, which, looking back at it, is stupid because Josh Rosen's terrible, but Josh Allen's good. But whatever. Yeah, go ahead.
So the biggest piece of news, and I guess I'll use this as a transition because I really don't want to talk about anything else because nothing else is really as important as what happened. Obviously, there was the trades a couple of days ago now with the 49ers, the Dolphins, and the Eagles.
So can you explain this to me? Because I, like myself, did not read any of it, and I just saw the Eagles somehow ended up with the 6th pick, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Okay, so the Eagles originally had the 6th pick, and I'm trying to find my notes because I did have notes for it. Okay.
Good.
So Miami had the 3 pick, right? And they traded down with San Francisco to 12. And with the 12th pick, they got a 1st-round pick next year, a 3rd-round pick next year, and a 1st after that. So for the 1 1st-round pick, they got 3 firsts and a 3rd, right? Then what they did was Miami traded back up to 6 with the Eagles by trading away one of the 3 picks that they got from San Francisco.
Oh,
right?
So
basically what they just did, for those who don't know, was they traded down 3 total spots and gained 2 picks, 2 first-round picks. And they're still going to get the guy that they want at 6.
Yeah. I will say this. It's more and more. I mean, I think I say this every time we talk about the NFL. It's more and more seeming like it's going to go Lawrence, Wilson, Lance, Fields. Which I'll let you move on because I kind of had an issue with that. But go ahead.
So the reason that I wanted to just kind of expand upon this first and kind of go over what everything that went down. Earlier this morning, right around when I woke up this morning, Daniel Jeremiah went on NFL Today or NFL Network or one of these things, and he reported that NFL teams believe that the 49ers traded up with the pick in mind of picking Mac Jones at 3. That was the news report. That was the report. I can send you the link right now so you can look at it, but that is what Daniel Jeremiah reported. If they end up taking Mac Jones from trading up and sending away 3 first-round picks to get 1 first-round pick, that is even dumber of a move than trading up 1 spot to get Mitch Trubisky. With the fact that you'll have probably Justin Fields, Trey Lance, or if one of those 2 goes, Zach Wilson. The fact that one of those 3 are going to be there for you and you're going to take Mac Jones over them, it would be a worse trade than the Bears trading up 1 spot to take Mitch Trubisky.
I will say on the premise, I agree with you. You'd have to wait and see.
I mean, obviously.
But yes, it's worse than Mitch Trubisky because Mitch Trubisky wasn't 22 years old. I think he was like 20 still or 21. Mac Jones is going to be 23. I guess I kind of take it back because I guess Joe Burrow was kind of the same thing. I just searched it on here, and I guess Chris Sims said he'd be shocked if they passed on him at 3. I heard all that's incredible. I heard all week it was for Lance.
And that's what everyone was saying. Everyone was saying, oh, they traded up for Lance. Oh, they're trading up for Fields. Oh, they're trading up for Wilson because the Jets aren't going to take him. And now this is all coming out, and a lot of people are talking about Mac Jones. They could have got Mac Jones with the 12th pick. They could have got Mac Jones if they traded down.
I don't think so. I think Mac Jones will go top 12. I think 4 quarterbacks are Wilson, Lawrence, Fields. I think 5 quarterbacks are going in the top 10. So like I said, I agree. It's still a stupid trade,
especially to trade up to 3.
Yeah, and because he could have fallen to 12, or you just wait till draft day and then make the last second move to get up to number 9 while he's there. If they take
trading up to 3 is just too much. Like I would have seen them trading up with the Eagles at 6, move up 6 spots. You give up a first, and what did the Eagles? Hang on, I don't think I explained what the Dolphins traded away. To move from 12 to 6 with the Eagles, I think Miami traded away one more. I think a first. They packaged the 12th pick with the 4th round pick and their own 1st round pick in 2022. So they traded 2 firsts and a 4th to move back up, but one of them wasn't there. So essentially what they did was they flipped one of the first, added on another first, and then just moved out 6 spots. You could have saved yourself from giving away a 1st round pick. You could have saved yourself a lot of trouble. And if you wanted to do it on draft day, I'm sure it would have been even less. You could have got it for a 1st and maybe a 3rd this year.
Yeah, I mean, the weirdest thing is, though, too, Mac Jones and Jimmy Garoppolo are the same person.
It's probably why they wanted to trade up for him.
I mean, I honestly just looked at a picture that they were 2 in after I searched. Both of them were in it, and I was like, I don't really see a difference. Like they're the same person. That's insane. If they traded up really up for Mac Jones, I guess the only thing that could save them from being this being a terrible mistake, A, is Mac Jones being actually good, and B, it's possible that the only team that was willing to part with their top 7 draft pick was the Dolphins.
But we know that's not true because the Eagles just traded down to 12 with Miami. They could have traded up to 6, and then if they really needed to trade up again to get Mac Jones, they could have. And maybe have saved something. I don't know, but
it just doesn't. Dalen Jeremiah is usually on too, so even trading up for Lance into that spot, I didn't understand.
Yeah, so. Like if you were to tell me, yes, we're 100% taking Wilson or Fields, whoever's there, just like the Jets traded up to 3 to get Sam Darnold because they thought he was the guy, right? But if you had told me, like, okay, I'm trading up to 3 to guarantee that I get one of the top 4 guys, like, okay, I understand that. We're going to take whoever is best available left on our board. But to tell me that you're trading up 9 spots to get Mac Jones, who you pointed out is 23 years old and is going to be a rookie, I don't understand.
I don't get it. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's always been weird like that. I mean, if you look at Kyle Shanahan's offense, it really needs a above average game managing quarterback. That's why Garoppolo was okay and made the Super Bowl for 1 year. So I guess, but why do you need to trade up to just get a game man? I don't know.
Honestly, they would have been
the more and more I think about it, the more and more it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think that honestly, and I'm being 100% honest here, they would have been better off waiting to the second round and trading up and taking Kyle Trask if they wanted just a game manager. When you're trading up to the number 3 spot to get a quarterback in the top 3 picks, you expect him to be a game changer, not a game manager.
And hold on one sec. I will say this. I don't believe next year's crop of quarterbacks is supposed to be like – I really don't think this crop, other than Lawrence, is really that good.
Agreed.
But I guess I could see it because, I mean, if you look at the names that can possibly come out next year, I mean, Tyler Show, I think
Spencer Rattler.
Rattler, and then if it's one of the quarterbacks at Ohio State, the one of the 3 that's up for it is like a redshirt sophomore or something. So he, I guess, could possibly get out. I don't know.
There's that Sam Howell from North Carolina.
Yeah. Howell should go first, I think.
You said Tyler Show, correct?
Yeah, Tyler Show. He transferred to – did he transfer to Washington State? Or transferred somewhere.
Show transferred to Texas Tech.
Yeah, so
then there's Kedon Clovis or Slovis, excuse me.
Kedon Slovis.
Sure. Oh God, there were more I had on here.
All right, let's see what the mock draft. Yeah, Howell.
Oh, JT Daniels from Georgia.
That's false because I'm already investigating JT Daniels, so don't worry about that. I swear to God, I'm going to break news that something happened last year at Georgia because it just doesn't make sense that they waited that long to play JT Daniels. They could have been in the playoffs if they would have played JT Daniels.
I agree.
I'm going to break I'm looking at this one. It's come from Pro Football Network. It's got Howell going first. The Jaguars taking Thibodeau. He might go first. The defensive lineman from Oregon. He was the number 1 draft. He was the number 1 recruit a little bit ago. Then the third. Oh, this would be hilarious. They have the Texans picking 3rd and taking Desmond Ridder from Cincinnati. I love Desmond Ridder. I love Desmond Ridder. He was a great to follow and talk about during the college football season. He's not an NFL quarterback. He can't throw. So that's interesting. But I mean, you can get on with the rest of the NFL stuff.
No. I'm glad. This is, like I said, I wanted this to be more of a discussion because there's not really news I want to talk about. It's just like hypotheticals and in theory and stuff. So I'm liking this, but I don't understand it, bro. Like, and I'm looking at Walter Football's mock draft for next year. They have the Texans taking Show at 2 because Howell went 1, and the Jets take Derek Stingley.
Yeah, come on, you know who Derek Stingley is.
I'm really bad at pronouncing stuff. We know this.
They have, oh my God, they have, this one's got, okay. Oh, they have the Bears. Guess who their next quarterback's going to be?
Where are the
Malik Willis. I don't know. I'm not involved. I'm on Pro Football Network. The number 10 pick by the Chicago Bears, Malik Willis, the quarterback from the, powerhouse Liberty program.
Woo!
So I guess, and the NFL is such an unforgiving league where if you don't get it right, I mean, coaches really have basically a year to prove that they have at least something going towards the future. And if they don't, you're just fired. So, yeah, I mean, I've said it. I've said it in the past. I wouldn't take a quarterback in the first round every time, but I would probably take a quarterback every draft, just somewhere, or sign an undrafted one. Can't lose anything with that. But yeah, it's very weird. I mean, soon, the way the NFL draft is going, like in 2030, all top 10 picks are just going to be quarterbacks.
Until someone wins a championship with a subpar quarterback and a beastly O-line and running back, and then running backs are going to be going. I mean, we've seen the shift kind of go back and forth with the NFL of the price of running backs and other positions.
I agree with you that it's going to switch from the quarterbacks. I think it'll switch from the quarterbacks to the wide receivers. I think the running back, unfortunately, it's just going to be devalued for the rest of time because
that's why I'm surprised this year. A lot of people have 2 running backs in the first round.
I will say Najee Harris is probably a first-round running back. That's the only one I can think of.
I mean, ETN is the other. End of first round?
ETN, end of first round, but that's I don't think he's as good as Christian McCaffrey coming out.
I mean, probably not, but they're not talking about him going where Christian McCaffrey went because McCaffrey went 8 or 10.
Yeah, I mean, and they're are always going to be those running back. Like, I can't really think. Like, maybe if I'm the Chiefs, and this is also me because I hate Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he's slower than molasses. If I were the Chiefs, I would absolutely take a running back at the end of the first round. Actually, this year I wouldn't because they need to just take a lineman. All they need to take is linemen. But theoretically, adding a great running back who you get to a already Super Bowl ready team. And I think I said it last week too. I'm dreading the day when Nick Chubb's contract comes up. I mean, I love Nick Chubb. And I think I just don't know if he's worth it. Like, if you gave me the choice to choose between, like, I can only choose 2 or 3 of Denzel Ward, Baker Mayfield, Myles Garrett, and Chubb. Chubb's the odd man out for me.
Because all the other positions are essential to that team. Like, I'm not saying Nick Chubb's not essential to the team because I think he is the game-changing factor for that team. But, like, you could re-sign Kareem Hunt for cheaper than you would re-sign Nick Chubb, and you'd still be just as fine off, as we saw last season when Nick Chubb was out hurt and Kareem Hunt was, I think, top 10 in rushing. So
yeah. And it's just I don't know what the Browns are going to do. I don't know. But
so I know that you were looking, or you wanted to know kind of like who would be looking at taking running back in the first round. Of all the mocks that I've been following and looking at, I've seen only a couple of teams taking running back. First, the first occurrence someone would take a running back is Arizona at 16 because they didn't re-sign Drake and they didn't sign anyone in free agency. So right now they have Chase Edmonds. So they're a team that could go running back. I've seen a lot of mock drafts having Miami at 18, not the first pick they have, but the second one. Miami at 18 because they don't really have a lead back down there. Then I've seen the Jets in a couple at 23 take one. I guess not the Packers now. The Bills I've seen take, and the Buccaneers I've actually seen take. So there are really only 4 teams in the first round that I've ever, or I guess 5 teams. Hey. 5 teams that I've really seen take running back.
Well, according to Pro Football Network, you're going to be really happy about this. In the 2022 draft, the Jets will have the 5th pick, and they haven't taken an absolute position of need for every team. Safety Kyle Hamilton. That's a terrible safety. You can't take a safety in the first 10.
No. The last time we did that was Jamal Adams, and that worked out great for a little bit. But it's not a top 10 pick.
Unless like a guy comes along like Cam Chancellor again, because Cam Chancellor was a straight up defensive lineman / linebacker with safety and corner speed. Until then, I would vote on not taking safety in the top 10. Like I don't even think in today's day and age, like Tyrann Mathieu at 21, at 21 years old coming out, I don't think you take him in the top 10. What else you got for the NFL? I guess I have something. Supposedly, the Browns have been talking to Casey Hayward, who this might be all made up because I've just heard it and I haven't seen any physical evidence of it. And then they're also talking with Clowney and Melvin Ingram. I don't know what Clowney's deal is. I think we talked about last time. I think he comes here because he has like one favorite restaurant in Cleveland and then just leaves. Like he left without a deal. The funny thing is though, the Browns are looking at Melvin Ingram, who played opposite not Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney in college when I was at South. They were both the defensive ends there. So. Yeah. I'm fairly confident they end up with one of those two guys, the corner, whatever. But yeah, I mean, if they could get Ingram or Clowney, and I almost prefer Ingram because he doesn't have as bad of a injury history. But Ingram, I believe, will be 31 or 30 next year.
Yeah.
It's the same age Olivier Vernon was this year. I think that would really help out the defense. That means you don't have to work on the defensive line pretty much for the most part. Basically that way, and on defense, you need to draft defensive line. For depth, you need to get a pretty good linebacker, and you still need one more piece in the secondary, and your offense should be fine. So,
and then one piece in the secondary could potentially be Grant Delpit if he's healthy and good. So.
Like I said, there's right now. I mean, there's one position I'd be willing to trade up for, and there's really one player because Caleb Farley and Surtain probably aren't going to fall far enough to be drafted. I would trade up for J.C. Horn because I think if instead of getting a linebacker, if you get J.C. Horn and you have Ward, Horn, Johnson, Harrison, and Delpit in the slot, along with like Taki covering, that's a really good defense. So I honestly, it's become like kind of to the point where I don't want to talk about the Browns anymore because it's just good things. And that makes me feel like this year, because this is how I felt when they went into the year with Freddie Kitchens, and that was a disaster. So I just don't want it to be a disaster again.
I got you, bro. And that's the year that was the Freddie Kitchens.
I will say, as we do talk about the Jets, so you didn't really bring it up, but does this mean Zach Wilson's for sure going to the Jets?
I was gonna read off a few more bits of news before we got to it, but I guess we'll just get to it right now. I'm in a fantasy football Facebook group that kind of just has turned into more of a relative baseball group, Facebook group about football. And one of the guys this morning, the guy Corey, posted an article from Bleacher Report, and it is titled NFL Exec. Zach Wilson may be as talented an athlete as Mahomes and Rodgers.
You know what?
Look,
but you know what? You're at the point where you have to just be like, okay, I have to start thinking he is. I have to start thinking he's the next Patrick Mahomes, or you're not going to survive this summer.
Right. So I watched the pro day. Like I went back, I found it, I watched the tape. Obviously, I saw the throw that everyone's raving about where he was backpedaling and just kind of flicked it for 60 or 70 yards on a dot, and like it looked good. Between that and the NFL execs, I don't really see a way the Jets don't take him. And it's
and honestly, maybe he'll be good. I hope he is.
I hope
but
he is too, because that's my future.
like right now, I have one comparison for Zach Wilson, and it's Drew Lock. I mean, he's Drew Lock, so
He's more athletic than Drew Lock, though.
But I'm telling you, this is a fan who had to do this too. You just need to start brain wrapping and just telling everyone Zach Wilson is the next Patrick Mahomes. And then if they ask you, just send them the article. Just be like, "This is the article. We're good. We're good."
Right. Well, like I said, I'm starting to just kind of like come to terms with it. Like, this is just something that the Jets are going to do because they're the Jets. You know, I don't know if you saw, but I added you on Twitter. The Jets do a mock draft Monday every Monday. And the one today had Sewell at 2 and I think it was ETN at 23. And I'm like, this is my favorite one yet. But you go to the comments section and all the Jets fans are like, no, this sucks. This is not good whatsoever. We want Wilson. We want Fields. Like, this is just something that's going to happen. And it's irrefutable at this point.
I guess notwithstanding at this point, because you never know, I would say actually it's Myles Garrett now probably. The best draft pick the Browns ever got was Joe Thomas. It's not even close. Like,
nope.
Not yet, at least. I mean, maybe hopefully down the line, Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward and those guys. But it's not even close. Like, Joe Thomas was – other than Jim Brown, Joe Thomas is probably the best player in Browns franchise history.
Agreed.
So I remember when they drafted him. Obviously, I was a lot younger, and I really clearly, even a lot younger, I really wanted someone that I could watch, like a receiver or a quarterback or a running back. But I mean, looking back on now, that was by far the best pick we've ever made.
100%. And what really bothers me now with this Wilson pick and the fact that everyone's talking about it, there was now another report this morning. And this is why I really wanted to leave this to the end of the football discussion. But there's a report from 3 NFL execs talked to someone with the media. And they put the value on Sam Darnold as a 3rd-round pick. And even one of those 3 executives said that might be a little too rich for me. So I understand it's time, but
if you think about it, I mean, the fact that the Cardinals got a 2nd-round pick for Josh Rosen, you'll never see that again. Like,
yeah, because he hasn't played a snap since. Did he play for the Dolphins for a little bit?
Yeah, I know he played for the Cardinals for a little bit. He played games at the end of that first year. But yeah, no, I mean, like, if you guys draft Zach Wilson and he sucks, and next year you're not going to get a 2nd-round pick for him, I think those days are over.
Yeah, well, and with Sam Darnold now, like, he had his worst professional year last year. I mean, obviously he missed some games due to injuries and sicknesses or whatever, but I mean, a 3rd sounds about right, unfortunately, unless you package him with someone else, which I don't know why you would want to, but you could.
I was going to say, the only thing I could think of getting more than a 2nd or a 3rd-round pick for Darnold is if you package him with, like, Marcus May or one of your good players.
I mean, I know that there were talking about cutting Jay Crowder to save $11 million. So you trade Darnold and Crowder somewhere, you could get a 2nd maybe. But I don't know why you would.
I don't know if Crowder's worth a 3rd pick. I like Crowder, but he's a niche receiver. Like, I don't know why I keep saying niche a lot, but the last 2 shows I've just been all over niche.
I know.
But what were we talking about?
Jay Crowder.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at 27 or 28 now, a 5'7" receiver that can probably a good slot receiver, very good. I mean, I'll tell you where, if they cut him, you know where he's going to go.
Tampa Bay.
No, he's going to the Patriots. He'll go to the Patriots and he'll be under Edelman for like a year. Edelman will like train him.
But Crowder doesn't need training though. He was so solid this year.
I agree. I'm just saying. I mean,
yeah.
If I'm Crowder, I look at slot guys in the past who've had the most success. I mean, you can kind of say probably Julian Edelman's probably a Hall of Famer. Like,
yeah, so. And Wes Welker might be as well, and he was a Patriot too. And I don't know. But the fact is, with these two reports coming out on the same day, with the Darnold being a third rounder and Zach Wilson being as talented an athlete as Mahomes and Rodgers, it's not really boding well that the Jets will take anyone else.
No, I mean, like I said, there's nothing to do but go all in now. You have to be all in. Like, it's like, you know what? Yeah.
You know, and I've been saying on this show now for the past couple weeks, I've been saying, like, I'd be fine keeping Darnold, just get him some protection. Then I finally broke, and I was like, okay, get me Justin Wilson or Justin Fields, because I want the proven talent. He looks good. He's got a little bit of everything, and literally everything that I've said on this show has just fallen by the time we record next. So I think I've just got to finally come to terms with it. It's going to be Zach Wilson, and that's just going to be that.
Yeah, at this point, just like try and tell yourself just not to be surprised when it happens on draft day. Like, just not to be surprised.
I'm not going to be surprised, but I'll still be disappointed.
I understand that. I get that.
So the last few things I wanted to note about the NFL: Trevor Lawrence declines his invitation to attend the draft so that he can sit and watch it with Clemson and some family members.
I saw that. Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
And then obviously we got to touch upon the fact that the NFL approved the 17-game season.
I know Kamara came out and said it was dumb.
He said it was dumb as hell, to be quite particular with what he said. That was his quote.
I mean, in like 20, 25 years, they're going to have 20-game seasons. I mean, it's the issue with greed, I guess. I don't want to turn this into like a philosophy class, but as long as there's a way for NFL owners and the NFL to make more money, like games are going to increase more than anything, let alone go down. So
well, I think that
I don't think it's necessarily stupid. Grant, I also don't play in the NFL, so I don't know how much toll it has on your body, but I don't know. This is one of the NFL issues that I just kind of don't care about. Like, to me, if you're going to have 7 teams in the playoff like they did this year, 17 games. That sounds fine. So, but yeah, I get that. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
So that'll be the last I talked about the NFL today. I just wanted to kind of touch on those after we kind of talked about the draft and everything. So we can now move on to the main.
I guess I said one more thing. I mean, Justin Fields is just getting so disrespected. I don't get it. Like, they're saying he's going to be the 4th quarterback selected when there was a time that he was the 2nd quarterback selected. And
there were times that people said that he was the 1st quarterback selected before Trevor Lawrence shined.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Trey Lance's pro day. It was okay. But I mean,
okay,
I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's never made sense to me. Whatever. So
the other thing, just on that too, in that Facebook group that I'm in, and this was like a couple of days ago, and I kind of just disregarded it because it was stupid. But I saw a report from, I think, another Bleacher Report or something from Corey saying that there was an NFL exec that had Justin Fields as a 4th round talent.
I saw that one, too. It makes no sense.
I don't understand.
No and it's not even to say like he nobody for Ohio State was good in the national championship game. Let's be honest, but that was an Alabama super team. So basically, your last impression of him, if you're an NFL scout, the last tape you're going to watch, other than the Alabama game, is when he put on probably one of the best performances in college football playoff history versus Clemson. So it just surprises me how much he's fallen. I don't get it. So I don't know. Before we get into March Madness, I will say I'm not going to really get on a tirade, and I'm not going to play the video of Taylor Twellman going on a tirade either. If you know the history of it, when the Olympics, when the U.S. didn't qualify for the World Cup in 2018, Taylor Twellman went on ESPN and went on a 5-minute rant. He's a former U.S. player, striker. He went on another rant after. So the U.S. didn't qualify for the Olympics. Not a huge deal. Very embarrassing. So to make the Olympics, they consider it an amateur event. So they have to use U23 players. So you have to be under 23.
Right.
The good and the bad about the U.S. team right now is all of their good players are under 23. And this weekend was the international break. And so, like, club teams in England and the MLS, during the international break, they have to allow their players to go play for their country teams. But, like, so if it's in World Cup qualifying, kind of like that. But for Olympic qualifying, the clubs don't have to release their players for that. So that's why you saw Christian Pulisic, Claudio Reyna, all those guys playing in a friendly matchup versus Jamaica and Northern Ireland this past week, rather than in Mexico qualifying. So basically, it was the U23s that lost to Honduras that didn't qualify. It was basically a superstar MLS team of just superstar young players, and they weren't good. That being said, they should have 100% qualified. The U.S.'s inability to grow soccer, it's almost becoming like a thing. It's not right. First of all, I think soccer in America should just disband the MLS. The MLS is a joke. If you you don't know much about soccer. If you watch an MLS game and then watch an English Premiership game or any other team, any other club in the world, is insanely different. So that's why we have guys like Pulisic and all these guys going over to play over there.
Right.
And Pulisic's had a bad year. He hasn't played much. He's been hurt. But guys like Weston McKennie basically has the most assists in the Italian league because he's assisting the ball to Cristiano Ronaldo at Juventus. And Sergiño Dest is probably a top 3 left back in the world right now, who's 20 years old and plays for Barcelona. So the fact that they couldn't qualify for the Olympics, it's embarrassing. It's a joke, especially because after the U.S. played Jamaica last Thursday in the friendly, and people were talking about, oh, America might be real contenders for the World Cup next year. It's a joke. The U.S. U.S. Soccer Federation is a joke. It's unbelievable. I have my own issues with the equal rights kind of thing because I think partially you should be paid because of how many people watch you and different things like that. And obviously men's sports are popular. But I'm not going to call U.S. soccer the men's team. They're not the national team. The U.S. women's national team is the national team of America. The MLS or the U.S. men's team is a joke. It's been a joke. And it's so incredibly frustrating as a guy who likes soccer because it is so embarrassing that the World Cup is one of the best sporting events, and it happens every 4 years, only once every 4 years. And so if you miss out on it, I'm done.
Isn't this the Olympics? I thought they didn't qualify for the Olympics.
They didn't qualify for the Olympics, but they didn't qualify for the World Cup in 2018.
Right.
So, and I mean, basically, this is just going. They should once again, and I think they have a better chance of qualifying for the 2022 World Cup, just because, like I said, their younger players are growing and good. But the fact that the U23s couldn't make the Olympics when they played Honduras, a team or a country that's the size of basically Iowa, it's unbelievable. So, like I said, I like soccer, and every day it gets worse and worse and worse.
So I have a question about them not qualifying for the Olympics. You said that the teams didn't have to release them to go play for this game for the qualifier. So is there something that people could push for to be like, hey, let them go play for the Olympics because that's bigger than some regular game that they're going to play?
No club team is going to release any of their players ever, unless they're a young player that he's like a sub or something. They're never going to do it because injuries. I mean, the only reason they let players play for their country and qualifying and things like for the World Cup is because they have to, or else they wouldn't let them play either. So I don't know. I just saw it this morning, and after such a good weekend where the U.S. men's national team did beat Jamaica handily on last Thursday and then beat a decent Northern Ireland team yesterday, to see that this morning, it's just really a killer. And the sad thing is, like I said, the clubs didn't have to release them for Olympic qualifying, but the good guys that weren't playing for the U.S. that lost, like Pulisic and Weston McKennie, those guys, they would have played in the World Cup, or not the World Cup. They would have played in the Olympics because it's an under 23 event, and they're all under 23. They just couldn't play because they weren't released for qualifiers. So it's very frustrating, and there's no real end in sight because if I'm a player, I mean the MLS needs to disband. If I'm a player, you need to go overseas to play. It's crazy. All right, so after that, Tyra, that's my second one. We'll move on to March Madness. We'll kind of go through this pretty quickly because we don't have a ton of time. And like I said, on Thursday or Wednesday night, we'll do a real Final Four preview. And he's gone.
I had to let my dog downstairs. My dad came home and he started barking.
No worries. So Saturday's games. Down goes Sister Jean. Oregon State is one of the hottest teams obviously one of the hottest teams in the country, but they have a real UConn/Butler feel those years that did that. Like they just like they shouldn't have beat Loyola Chicago, but they just played better than them. So like I said, I love Oregon State now.
I've been on Oregon State since round one. I have my father to make sure that it's been said. I've been on the train since round one when they played Tennessee. Even before that, I'm like, this Oregon State team's going deep, and I have my father back me up on that.
Yeah, but I don't remember you saying that, so I don't know about that.
Well, I'll bring him in.
Okay. Jay Wright lost. Villanova lost. Jay Wright's just a really fucking good coach.
He just really good coach.
It's unbelievable that they were able to get to the Sweet 16 without literally, like we talked about it before, how important a point guard can be, just not even statistical wise. The fact that they made the Sweet 16 without Colin Gillespie, who was their engine, their heart, and everything the entire year, that's incredible. I hope he stays at Villanova for a long time because he'll go down as one of the Big East greats.
Yeah, I mean, I think he already has. I mean, Jay Wright's he's well respected throughout the Big East. Like, he doesn't really piss anyone off. I went on his Twitter today, or I was on Twitter and I saw he's a stand-up guy. He thanked the city of Indianapolis and the specific hotels they were at. He thanked Butler for helping make the tournament happen and everything. Like, he's just a really good stand-up guy. Even though I have to not like him technically because he's a rival school in the Big East or whatever, but I have no animosity towards Jay Wright. He's a good guy. He's a great coach, and all the credit in the world to him for getting this far.
I mean, if you went back the last 5 years, who's been the best team over 5 years, collectively, it's been Villanova, and I don't really think it's been that close.
I agree. I don't think that there's really any other team. Close.
They could field a team. No, not yet. They could field a team of NBA players. I don't know if they'd win a game though. I don't know. But because you got to think they don't have any centers in the NBA. They have.
Well, they have Eric Paschall, who's been pretty decent.
He's 6'6". He's not a center.
But he plays the 4.
I know he plays the 4. I know. I've played with him on 2K. He's not very good because he's really not that good at 3-pointers. But yeah. You think of all the guys from, Mikal Bridges,
Sadiq Bey, he's 6'8". He can play your center. Josh Hart, Kyle Lowry, Eric Paschall, Dante DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson. That's a solid team right there.
They produce NBA guards. They produce NBA guards and swingmen better than anyone in college right now.
Yeah.
The only thing it sucks is usually by the time they get to the draft, they're already seniors, so they're only 22. Eric Paschall's been in the league for 2 years. He's almost 25. So
it's because Jay Wright gets him to stay for the full 4 years.
No. And if you look at the track record of Villanova players in the NBA, it's good. So I'm going to keep taking them no matter what. If they're old, it doesn't really matter. Jay Wright, that sucks. But I don't know what to think about Baylor. I don't know if they can beat Gonzaga. Like they were my favorite to beat Gonzaga for a while now, and I think I'm kind of switching over to Arkansas now. But like I said, that's just my own thing.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't have a lot of confidence in Baylor, and it sucks because I think what really killed them was that COVID break they had to take. They just weren't the same team when they came back from that.
Well, and they haven't been since. And I watched the entirety of that Baylor game, and like they made the right adjustments at halftime, and they did come back, and their defense is really good. But really good defense isn't going to stop Gonzaga. You got to be able to match their offense and still have the good defense. And their offense has just been off. They've been taking a lot of threes and not hitting them, and I just don't see it.
Yeah, I agree. Who's next?
But I don't know if they're going to lose before the Final Four. Do we know what the breakdown is? Like who? I know who they're going to play next round, but who do they play after that?
I don't know. I have to look at that full bracket up.
So they play Arkansas today. Then they play the winner of Oregon State, Houston. You know, Houston's another team, and I think is that the next game on the list or no? I don't want to skip over.
There. Oh yeah. Syracuse lost to them. Oh well, Go ahead. You can go to that one. We'll loop back around to Oral.
Yeah. So the Houston didn't impress me as much as I thought they would until the game versus Syracuse. And even then, it didn't feel like they were dominating Syracuse. It just felt like some shots weren't going down for Syracuse. You know, there wasn't a narrative like Gonzaga where they're just dominating everyone in every facet of the game. It was just that Syracuse's defense had a few too many holes that Houston saw, and it was that they couldn't get their three-pointers to go down. So
I think Syracuse probably make the Final Four, and I think they'll lose the first game of the Final Four.
Well, they just lost.
Oh yeah, they just lost. Never mind. You're right. Yeah, no, Houston is not impressive.
Yeah, and honestly, I would love to see Oregon State win this game versus Houston to go play whoever's next in the Elite Eight.
I would love for Arkansas to beat the shit out of Oregon State. It would make me happy.
Arkansas.
I really like happy.
Yeah, I don't see Houston being the one to knock off Gonzaga because they too. They don't look like they ever are in control of games. They're just kind of there.
No, if we seriously just sit down and think about it, and look at all the teams in the tournament. On paper, no one can beat Gonzaga.
Right.
On paper. On paper. Honestly, if Isaiah Livers was playing for Michigan, I would say they had the best chance. And Michigan is still playing insane, and they're on our list. We'll talk about them in a sec. But without Livers, they just don't have that. I hope Gonzaga loses. I hope Gonzaga loses because they will never live it down. Like it will never be.
They'll go down as the best team to never win a chip. They'll surpass UNLV.
Well, and I don't know, but would they surpass 15 Kentucky?
I mean, I thought UNLV was a better team than Kentucky was my second because we actually never went over the list of the best teams to never win. I had 91 UNLV and then 15 Kentucky. So
15 Kentucky wasn't that Towns?
Was it Towns?
I'm pretty sure it was one of the big guys, and it wasn't Noel because with Noel they didn't even make the tournament. And I don't think it was I believe Devin Booker was on the team.
Let's see. Yeah, Devin Booker, Aaron Harrison, Andrew Harrison, Cat, Willie Cauley-Stein, Trey Lyles, and then a bunch of other people.
Yeah. I think I counted that roster. I think there's 7 or 8 maybe and NBA players. I don't know.
7 entered into the draft. I'll say that much.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, we'll see. I hope Gonzaga loses. I really do. I think it. Because however, if Gonzaga does lose, it's going to be a close game. Gonzaga is not going to get blown out by anybody. But we'll see. So, but I agree with you on Houston. They don't scare me at all.
Yeah.
Sunday.
I skipped over Oral Roberts.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't really matter. I already said everything that you just said. Arkansas is really, really good. And
Yeah, but they lost. They won by inches on the final shot there. I just want to give a lot of credit to that Oral Roberts team. I mean, that was a hell of a run that obviously no one was expecting, but like they kept it close even versus Arkansas. It sucks that they were in that portion of the bracket. I would have liked for them to have been in Syracuse's situation to play Houston, because I think they would have won that game in all honesty.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just further proof that I don't know if we'll ever see someone like that at that low make a Final Four. Like I think the cutoff kind of comes at like 12 or 13, where like 13 and below, they're really just not as big and strong as fast as the other guys. So I don't know. I hope you're right. I hope it happens again. We'll see. Sunday's games, we already really talk about it. Gonzaga, I really don't think they're going to lose. And the other question I kind of came up with on my own. If you're Mark Few, okay, say you win a national championship this year, you got to stay on for next year because you already have the number one prospect. So you have to stay on for next year. After that, I mean, there's no point in him going to, like, say North Carolina opened up. There's no point in him going there. Like, and this is obviously only if he wants to change a scenery. The only change of scenery for me that I could see from him is the NBA. Yeah,
I didn't even know if he needed to stay next year. Like, I understand he had the number one prospect and everything, and like I get it. I get staying another year, but like if he wanted to change a scenery that was in the college level to be for a bigger program that's not a mid-major, I could have seen him going to Indiana, but like they suck right now. But
well, first of all, let's talk about Indiana hiring Mike Woodson and saying it was their first choice too. I mean,
he has no college coaching experience.
I understand why people say Indiana is still a big time job, and I for the most part I agree with it, because unlike Nebraska in football, Indiana is still popping out 5-star basketball players like no other. So I understand that why, but I mean, Mike Woodson,
like as their first option, like they didn't bring in Billy Donovan.
They said it was their first option. I highly doubt it was. Steve Alford said no. Took himself out of the running before they even had any interest in him, I guess.
My pick would have been Billy Donovan. Like if I'm them and he wanted the job, it would have been Billy Donovan for me.
Nope, you're wrong. You're wrong. It's there's one guy that they should have never let leave the state of Indiana. Chris Beard, Texas Tech coach from Indiana. They should have never let him leave.
Right.
But I can see Billy Donovan. I just don't think Billy Donovan just doesn't seem like a Midwestern guy to me. I think he's like California, Florida.
Yeah, he was the coach of those Miami teams, right?
Who?
The not Miami shit, the Florida teams. With
Billy Donovan.
He was the Florida.
All right, so obviously,
didn't I see, or did I send you something that Shaka Smart moved?
Yeah, he's at Marquette now.
Right.
That seems fishy.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say other than that seems fishy. Like that. And by no means is Marquette a bigger time program than
Texas.
But I will take it back. There is a reason he probably went to Marquette. He's from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I guess but still, that's
well, and I think I said after they lost, didn't they lose to Abilene Christian? I'm like, you can't live that down. Like, I'm surprised. I said I was going to be surprised if he came back next year, and you're like, oh no, it was still a good team and a good game. You just had an off night or whatever. After something like that, I expected a move personally.
Yeah, I understand that. I like I said, if it smells like fish, if it looks like fish, it's probably fishy. It would not surprise me at all if something came out in the next 6 months about it.
Right.
So on to Michigan. On to Michigan. Michigan is also really good, and that's without Chris Livers. Their point guard is like my spirit animal. I love him. I don't even know his name. I think it's Isaiah something.
You have Mike Smith, number 12.
Mike Smith. Also, just the most plain name. Like, why don't you just call him Jane Doe? So, they're really good. But once again, not having Livers is why I don't think. I mean, I think they'll make Final Four probably. Without Livers, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah,
I guess it really doesn't suck because I'm supposed to hate Michigan, but I don't know. See, I'm just a Rutgers fan.
I'm a Rutgers guy.
Born and raised in New Jersey, man.
Yes, sir.
So yeah, Michigan's still really good. UCLA won. What game did I skip? Oh, Alabama, UCLA. So, did you watch this game?
I watched the entirety of this game. This was my favorite game so far of the March Madness tournament.
So, I coached high school basketball for a year. I was an assistant coach, whatever. I learned while coaching, like, because when I was a player, I just hated refs, and I would get teased because I didn't like refs. Coaches also get teased and stuff, and they get mad about the timing of calls. Alabama, within the first 40 seconds, was immediately in bad shape just because that guy had got 2 fouls. And the second one was a little touchy, but both of them I can understand the justification for. But him having to go out for basically the whole first half with 2 fouls changed the entire outlook of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and I've been rooting a little bit for UCLA, and I know I've said this on here. I like UCLA. I like a lot of the players and everything, but you're right. If that guy didn't get the 2 fouls in 41 seconds, I don't know if UCLA would have hung.
Yeah, because in Alabama, and this is a double-edged sword because their biggest asset is the 3-point shot. Yeah. And that's why it's so hard to win the NCAA tournament because you have to hit shots for 6 straight games. So,
right.
And I think Nate Oates did a fantastic job. The way he's redone Alabama now that it's a basketball as cool as good. I don't know if you've heard about him, but he basically hates mid-range jumpers. And in practice, they get 2 points for a layup, 1 point for a mid-range jumper, 3 for a 3-pointer, and 4 from a deep 3-pointer. Well, Nate Oates, it could have helped a little bit yesterday to have your guys shooting some just regular jump shots.
Yeah. Well, the thing about the game, though, and I was talking about it with my dad, they were not hitting threes. I said at one point, and I said it jokingly, I'm like, they're shooting 4 for 20 from 3. And my dad's like, no, it can't be that bad. I went and looked. They were 5 for 19. I'm like, I'm not that far off when I say they're shooting 20%. And when the thing about UCLA and the thing about the same thing I was saying about Syracuse and Houston and Baylor, when your 3-pointer's not working, drive to the hoop because it was working for them. And that's when Alabama. That's when Alabama was scoring. They could not stop them when they were going inside because UCLA was just a smaller, less physical team than Alabama.
Way smaller. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I will say this. Alabama and Arkansas, how alike those teams are is very kind of scary because I feel like it's just one set of brothers plays on Arkansas and the other set of brothers plays on Alabama. But I mean, like I said, and they did a great job. It's crazy that Nate Oates 5 years ago was still coaching a high school basketball team in Michigan, and the fact that he's come all the way, that's awesome. But I mean, you kind of see the issue there with only shooting threes, and like I said, it's a double-edged sword. I mean. Yeah.
Well, and Baylor was having the same exact issue in their game when they were down at halftime.
Yeah,
they still took some threes here and there when they were open and they didn't hit them, but they just kept driving it down Villanova's throat, and they ended up coming back and winning.
Yeah, I mean, teams are so focused and so like focused in on 3-pointers now, that even when a team starts getting down, it's almost like I can almost compare it to football, where like you're down, but you have a really good running attack, but you're down. So you need to catch up quickly. And instead of running the ball, you keep throwing passes like way deep. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Not Arkansas. Baylor made the right corrections at halftime by switching it up and taking those threes, because they are still essential to the game to keep the defense guessing. Same thing with running the ball when you're down and passing. You still need to throw it so they don't stack 8 in the box, but you're really going to be rushing. And that's the same thing that needed to happen for Alabama to win that game.
And if you really want to get into analytically, I mean, we kind of said it, like the advantage that the big higher seats have over the lower seats, they're bigger and faster and stronger. So yes, drive to the hoop, you're going to get fouls called. Like, it's so much better than shooting just threes on threes on threes.
Well, and if you look at the analytics of it, you could just look strictly at the most simple analytical part of basketball. The likelihood of it going in. You're more likely to hit a layup or a dunk or a mid-range shot that's kind of close where you just gotta get it over than you are a 3-pointer. It's as simple as that. Yeah.
So, and then we go into the nightcap. I hate USC so much. I can't. I shouldn't have parlayed them. You said something to me on Saturday. Oh, you didn't parlay them? Like, no, but I did on Sunday and it didn't work.
I had stopped betting on it, the games, because I got busy on Sunday. I had a bunch of homework and stuff to do, so I didn't really pay too much attention to the betting and everything. But all I know is I didn't win anything, so I don't even know what I had in my ticket.
I mean, good for USC. I'm a little bit down on Mobley. I don't know. I don't know if he has the frame to put on a lot of weight, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
His brother should get drafted as well. They're both good.
I had sent you that one text. I was like, wow, this guy is like a lot skinnier than I thought. And ever since I sent that to you, I'm like, this guy is not nearly what I thought he would be. And I think that might be because, like, if you go and look at NBA mocks, like, Mobley's in the top 10. He's in the lottery for sure 100% of the time. He's not a top 5 guy in a lot of drafts. He's around 7 to 10.
He's a little bit less dynamic than Wiseman, who got drafted this past year. He's a little bit less athletic than him. So
yeah.
All right.
But I agree. His brother should be going as well. His brother is very good.
Hey, it's the NBA. Why don't they just package themselves together? Say we come as two. So with that, we haven't done Mount Rushmore in a while. I thought this would be a good time because obviously we all have great memories from March Madness, but we also have a lot of bad memories. And this is, like I said, this isn't a Mount Rushmore of just March Madness, but the worst moments of being a sports fan. This was my idea, so I will go first. Okay. And I don't even need to say anything.
Going to go length of the court with Arcidiacono. 3 seconds at midcourt. Jenkins gives it to Jenkins for the championship.
Yeah.
I mean,
I knew where it was going.
And I don't. So obviously that's my number one, and it's recent, so it sucks. But the unknown part about that is I was living out I was living in an apartment, and my roommate was a coach with me in football. He was a Villanova grad, so I was like, it was the worst thing because I was so happy for him. I honestly was, but I was like, my dreams and everything is crushed. Like that was the only time I can remember as being a fan where like I just had nothing to say or do. I was just like, because that whole time Arcidiacono is dribbling down, you just see, and I even remember watching it. I was like, they're gonna hit the trailer. So that was I guess I don't know if that's number one overall, but that's the most recent and the one I can remember the most. So.
Yeah, I mean, for me at least, I have to go with the back to. And this is not really a specific moment; it's more just kind of a culmination of moments. But the back-to-back AFC Championship losses for me with the Jets. I mean, you have this absolutely dominating defense that carries Mark Sanchez 2 times. And of course, because you're in the AFC in the 2000s and the beginning of the 2010s, the first time you run in, or I don't even know which one's which, honestly, because they all blend together, like I said, but you run into Tom Brady and then you run into Peyton Manning. Like,
it's rough. It's rough.
After beating Tom Brady, you run into Peyton Manning. So whichever one that one was, I think that one was a little bit worse, but as a culmination, like, oh man.
All right, you're up. One more.
Oh, another one? Oh gosh.
If you don't, I can go. Go ahead. What was I going to say? Shoot, I forgot. LeBron leaving Cleveland the first time.
Right.
I wasn't one of the psychopaths that went and burned a jersey or anything. And I was still semi-smart in high school, like semi-mature. So I kind of knew that it was because in the week leading up to it, you kind of figured out that he wasn't going to be coming to the Cavs. And I kind of braced for it, but still, it was horrible. It was horrible. And then one of the best sports moments of my life was when I was working and the ESPN ticker just came up and said that LeBron's rejoining the Cavs. So
that's true. I have another Jets one, and then I'll get into my other sports fandom things. But I'm a Jets fan first, so what can I do? The one game, Week 16 versus the Bills. All we need to do is win a game versus the Bills, which they didn't have Josh Allen. They weren't good. They were just the Bills.
I remember this.
My one, the player that I harp about all the time on here, he was a Jet. Ryan Fitzpatrick walks out and throws 4 interceptions on 4 drives after being up by 3 touchdowns. Bills end up coming back and we don't make the playoffs. It's a heartbreaker.
Yeah, that does suck. I mean, if you want to talk about like horrible things, I mean, the Browns had like the fumble and all those things. Those 4 years in a row for Buffalo, where they lost in the Super Bowl, I mean, those had to be miserable.
Yeah, the same thing with. I know that Buffalo went to 4 straight and lost, and that's like all time. Like, geez, I know. I'm saying I know that, but like the Vikings have been to 4. I don't think in a row, but they've been to 4 pretty close, and they lost all 4. Like, yikes. So yeah, you can go now. What's about
I don't know. I keep there are so many. You know what? I'll go with this one. And this wasn't that I was sad. I was more angry than anything. You probably don't remember. I was in like middle school. So I played baseball in the spring, and we were out at practice one Sunday in the spring. And the Duke North Carolina game was on TV during that. So I had my like old school. I had my parents like tape it, and I made sure no one talked to me about it. And I got home for X and went and watched the game. It ended up being the game where Tyler Hansbrough got his face smashed in.
Ooh.
And I've never been that angry in my life at anyone more than Gerald Henderson. I would have openly put him up on death row for that.
Yeah, I mean, that was just such a. I've like gone back and watched it. Like you said, I don't remember like physically watching.
You straight up punched him in the face.
Yeah, I mean, that was rough. So going over to basketball, I think I don't want to say I cried, but I definitely like gave up on life for a little bit there when I found out that the Knicks hired Triangle Boy. What's his name? The guy who ran the triangle offense.
Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
They never hired Phil Jackson.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, Phil Jackson was the Knicks coach. They had Porzingis, and they got rid of Melo, and Porzingis was mad, and they ran Porzingis on top of a triangle. All I know is I gave up on basketball around then because Phil Jackson was just such a horrible coach and a terrible, terrible, terrible guy to bring in for the Knicks, especially at that moment in time. And I cried.
So my last one, this was just like, it wasn't anger. It wasn't sadness. It was just a thought, or it was just I was numb. I had no feelings about it. when Corey Coleman dropped the sure-handed wide open pass in the 16th game of the Browns season. And that was the final straw, knowing that we would go like 0-16. It was just, it was a numb feeling. It was just like, that is perfect. Corey Coleman, who we picked in the top 15, just dropped a wide open pass, and now we're going to be 0-16. I just felt like I was cold. I was just like, oh my God. So yeah. I hope I don't like, and you know what? I take it back. I hope the Patriots have 50 years of misery. So, but other than that, I don't hate any other really fan bases, but I mean, I had nothing. I was just numb.
Yeah.
But the best part about that all was this is going past it, which ended up being moot because he came back the next year anyways. You thought when Hugh Jackson showed the Browns management that he could go 0-16, they would fire him after the season, but nope. We got another 9 games out of him. It's unbelievable.
So I guess this one doesn't really count as like my specific fandom, but this is just something that happened recently that like got me really upset or whatever. But the first game that the Marlins played after Jose Fernandez died, and D. Gordon was walking up to the mound and everything.
He hit the home run.
He hit the home run and he was crying around. But before the game, he walked out to the mound where the 17 was and where all the jerseys were laid. And he was just sitting there like pounding the ground because like they were best friends or whatever. And like, I really liked Jose Fernandez when he was around. Like he was fun. He was, he was making baseball fun again. And not that I was like a huge baseball fan or anything, but like I did watch him and I watched a lot of highlights when he was on the TV or whatever. But just seeing like how broken D. Gordon was after that had like all kind of gone down. It was a really heartbreaking moment is really the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think, I remember watching it. That was sad. That was so cool. I hit the home run though. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, was it his first of the career or like second or third of the career?
I think it was his first this season. I know that, but I don't know. Maybe next time we'll have to do either like maybe our Mount Rushmore of like sports conspiracies or like our Mount Rushmore of like shocking sports news. Like, I don't know, the things that just shocked you. Like, yeah, maybe we'll do that next. Like Manti Te'o isn't real, or his girlfriend isn't real. So that's gonna do it for us today. Before we go, we're gonna give our predictions for tonight and tomorrow. And then, like I said, we will either Wednesday or Thursday, we'll do pretty much, I would say probably about 85 to 80% full NCAA, kind of recapping it. But for now, we'll just make our picks. And I wish ESPN would load because it is.
I could read you the games if you want to have them here.
Oh, before I go. Adam Teach, the guy, going back to our NBA rant. This is coming, like the fact that Harden came out and was like, I'm the MVP. But like people always forget about this because you were right. And you made me think of it when you said LeBron James could have been the MVP. Mike Trout should have been the MLB player of the year for the past 10 years. He should have been it every year.
It's the same thing.
And you never would ever hear a peep out of him. It's just those losers who just care about themselves.
Yeah. I like I said, the most valuable player to me has always been who means the most to the team that they're on. And without them, they would suck. So I said, LeBron James should win it every year. A guy like Julius Randle this year should win it because he's having a hell of a season. But like to say James Harden should win the MVP, the dude's not even the best player on his team. And
he'll have like 33 points after taking 35 shots. And he's like, yeah, I'm the MVP. And it's not even it's also this. Mike Trout is 10 times better at baseball
than anyone else on the field.
No, it's 10 times as good as baseball as like James Harden is as good as basketball. Mike Trout is way better than his sport that he is James Harden is at his sport. So, yeah, stupid. All right, yeah, read the games off, though, because we do want to make picks.
Yep. So the first – well, I don't know if this is in order. Hang on, let me find – okay, so the first game is Oregon State-Houston.
I got to go with Oregon State.
Yeah.
And also, I will say this. Don't even read the spread. There's no point because at this point now –
I'm betting money line.
Yeah, it's money line. So, and honestly, there's no reason not to do money line at this point.
And I'm not going to be parlaying. I'm going to be doing these straight from here on out because I really don't want to stretch my bets out through 2 days.
I don't care about your gambling anymore. It is my time to shine.
All right. Well, I also have Oregon State. But
it just seems like Oregon State is
better
too hot right now.
Yeah.
I guess what is the spread?
Oh, I don't have that pulled up. I'm looking.
Oh, you don't have it? Okay.
I'll pull it up. So the spread is 8 points.
I still like Oregon State.
I like Oregon State to cover that.
That makes no sense. Then again, the guys in Vegas know exactly what they're doing, but that makes no sense because I don't think Houston's whatever. Go on. Next one. It's Arkansas versus
Arkansas Baylor. Arkansas is a 10 or an 8-point underdog.
Like I said, I wouldn't put a large money down on Arkansas, but I would put money line on Arkansas. I like Arkansas. But the other thing is too, I wouldn't mind seeing Baylor win it all either. They've kind of been the same team for the past 4 years.
Yeah.
So we've watched, like anyone who's a fan of college basketball has watched them grow as like a class. So I wouldn't hate it, but I mean, I would rather have Arkansas, so I'll take Arkansas. And by the way, Moses Moody for Arkansas, if you want to watch how a player in college is going to translate to the NBA, just watch Moses Moody's game. He is the perfect example of someone going from college to the NBA in today's day and age. He can shoot the three, but he's more of a lengthy, like athletic guy.
Yeah.
I want him with of course the Cavs will have a top 5, but nope, they'll have the 7th pick. They'll have the second worst record, but they'll get the 7th pick, which we deserve after getting like 5 number ones in a row with Irving, Anthony Bennett. So
yeah. If we're talking just who's going to win, I'm going to go with Baylor. Like you said, I just think that they're more. I don't want to disrespect Arkansas at all, but I think Baylor has just a better defense than Arkansas.
We just talked about it. I mean, they've been together for almost 4 years. Yes, the Gonzaga team this year is not even as much as it. I mean, Baylor is just like a veteran group, and like I said, I would not mind watching them win.
So, but if we're talking bet wise, 8 points for Arkansas, I think they can cover that.
Yeah, that's a good bet. That's a good bet. I mean, and if you're going to look at Oregon State too, I got to tell you, I think everything I said in the beginning is very wrong now because Oregon State +8 looks great to me.
Yeah, well, and you got to remember the Arkansas Oral Roberts game last week, or last time it was played or whatever. They were like 11.5-point underdogs, and they wound up losing by inches because if that shot had gone down at the end of the game, that was Oral Roberts. So yeah. I love both of those spreads at 8 points for them to cover. I would definitely take those.
Oh, and of course, I mean, it'll be 7 towards the end of the game or something like that. You'll be screaming your face off for no reason.
Yeah, 100%. So then
who does Gonzaga play? Yeah, go ahead.
The next game is USC Gonzaga with a 9-point spread.
I think they'll cover 9. I'm surprised that's not double digits. I thought for sure they would be the only Elite Eight matchup.
I'm more surprised that they're only 1 more point spread than the other 2 games that we talked about.
Yes, yes, I agree too. I mean, yeah, I mean, Gonzaga is the only team capable in this tournament that could beat the remaining 15 teams by double digits. I would say Baylor or Michigan is probably the 2 other best. And I think they would beat both of them by double digits right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Gonzaga is going to be my pick to win it. for them to cover 9 sounds pretty reasonable, but I just don't know, because Gonzaga has great defense and their offense is unmatched. So like I would not be surprised if Gonzaga can cover 9 versus USC.
Oh, I wouldn't be there. Like I said, I'm surprised it's not double digits. All right, what's the last one?
The last one is UCLA Michigan with a 7-point spread in favor of Michigan.
I can't believe that's not more either.
It's because UCLA is hot. I mean, look, I know Michigan has been really good, but when you go back and look at the way that their games have broken down, it's been close until like the last 3 minutes where Michigan just piles on like 12 or 15 points to make the games look like they were a lot more one-sided than they were. UCLA hasn't gone down quietly yet, and that's why they've won these really close games thus far. So there was going to be one big upset other than Oregon State over Houston, I like UCLA to hang with Michigan all the way through.
This is how dumb I am at betting. I have Houston. I bet a future on Houston to make the Final Four, and now I don't want them to just because I don't. So, yeah, that's yeah. What was the last game you said? What was it?
It's UCLA, Michigan.
Like I said, I love UCLA. I like UCLA. I will take UCLA. I don't know if they're going to win.
Well, yeah, I like them, especially to cover 7-point spread, because like I said, they've been fighting all the way through, and that's part of the reason why they've won these games so far. And remember, they played an extra game than all these other teams because they had to play a first four versus Michigan State.
Yeah. So, who was the only other first four team to make the Final Four?
VCU.
Yes, and that was the first year they ever had it too. I think it was 11 or 12.
Yeah, something like that. But if I had to pick an upset that wasn't Oregon State, Houston, it would be UCLA over Michigan, because I think they'll be able to hang with them and not let Michigan do what they do and pile on 10 points right at the end of the game to make it a comeback. I think UCLA could potentially take them all the way down to the wire, and those are the games where we usually see upsets.
Yeah, but like I do say, I wouldn't hate to see USC win. Like Andy Enfield, Dunk City. I mean, that's where he's from. So, but like I said, I'm getting tired now. That's going to do it for us today. Like I said, Wednesday, we record Wednesday night or Thursday afternoon, it depends, but it'll be pretty much 80-85% college basketball, kind of going over maybe a little bit of obviously the tournament and maybe the whole year, give some awards out, things like that. Oh, yeah, I was just going to show you what my favorite Butler shot of all time was.
So you got to really try to get them free with a good screen. Let's see what they do. They're not going to ball to the guy on the baseline. They'll let him throw it in.
Campen again. He's a guy who hardly ever plays, but obviously a guy they like to throw the long touchdown pass or football-type pass. He's going to be in there to inbound the ball again for Butler.
Don't remember this. With Hill and Leitner, they allowed him to throw it in.
A travel is called on Barlow.
He lifted his pivot foot. There's the basket. Watch this. He dragged his pivot foot. No doubt about it. Before he put the ball on the floor, the foot came up.
And now if they don't get an immediate steal, they'll have to foul.
Foul right away. And then you got to hope for a dramatic three.
Oh, boy! They got it!
Yes! I can't believe it! Are you serious?
That's a great one.
I have that saved on my phone.
I have two things to say about that. That was at the time when like really big and long shorts were in, because those look horrible right now. Yeah. Like that point guard who traveled, Barlow or whatever, I mean, his pants were like down halfway down his knees.
Yeah. And by the way, did you see the controversial call in the Alabama game where they called it out of bounds on the Alabama player because they hit his short?
Yeah, I mean,
that's why they're wearing shorts now.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, I remember that. That was the Hinkle, I think. Yeah, it was a Hinkle. So that was always. I remember that. That was cool. That, I mean, looking at that, That was such a dumb pass. Like he just threw it straight up in the air. And unfortunately, we'll probably have more videos coming in wherever we do our next show, throwing some good March Madness clips. But like I said, that's it for us right now. Tom, any last words?
Let's go Beavers, man. I'm rooting for them over Houston. I want to see them go.
Let's go Hogs.